Hello children, how are you? I hope you are all fine. So today we are going to learn the very first chapter of the computer syllabus, that is the evolution of the computer. What it is? The evolution of the computers. Okay? So there are two parts in this chapter that we are going to study. That is part 1, that is early calculating devices, and part 2, that is the classification of computers. Okay, in this session we are going to study only about the part 1, that is early calculating devices. Part 2 we will study in the next session. Okay, fine. So in earlier ages, before the invention of calculator, just think once how man used to count the devices, count the objects. Okay, so just think how man used to do that. There must be some device before the invention of calculator that man must be using it. Okay, so in the very beginning man felt that there should be some device which could help him in counting the objects, which could help him in making his work easier. Okay, so to invent the devices which could work more faster and give less errors, he continued the process of inventing devices till he get the proper calculating device. Okay, so there were earlier many of the very first device was abacus. Abacus we are going to study in the next slide. Okay, we will study in this session only. So he found that the first device it had some errors, or it could it was having some flaws. So to make the work more in an exact manner, or make the work more easier, he reinvented the devices and till he get the most flexible, most correct calculating device. Okay, so understood now? Okay, before the invention of calculators, there were some devices which used to help man to calculate the objects. Okay, so part 1 is only about the calculating devices that were used in the earliest ages before the invention of the calculator. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so the very first calculating device that we are going to study is abacus. Okay, you must have shown the abacus at in the school. If you have not shown, there is an image on your screen. Abacus looks exactly like this. Okay, it is the image that you are seeing on your screen on the rightmost part. That image is nothing but the image of the abacus. It was the very first calculating device. Okay, how you are going to use the abacus for calculating the devices, that you can see on YouTube, or you can also search it on Google. Okay, there are some beads. In short, I will explain you here. There are some beads you can see on the abacus. Okay, now these beads are used to count the number of objects, to do the multiplication, to do the division. Okay, there are some different colors of beads. You can see blue color beads are there, red, then green, yellow, blue. Again that colors of beads are repeated. Okay, so on the one side there are some bunch of beads, and on the other there are some another bunch of beads. So these beads are used to perform the mathematical operations. Okay, it was the, in short, you have to just keep in mind that abacus was the first calculating devices. It was invented in China. Who invented this? Of course, it was invented in China in the 16th century. Okay, this is which century, by the way? Do you know it? It is the 21st century, and abacus was invented in the 16th century. Okay, that was long back. Okay, it was developed by Japan and Russia later on. First it was invented by China, then afterwards Japan and Russia made some changes in that abacus to make it more flexible, to make it more errorless. Japan and Russia made some changes in that. Okay. In short, I will repeat it what the abacus is all about. It is the first calculating device. It was invented in China in the 16th century and it was developed by Japan and Russia later on. Okay, got it? It was invented first by China and then it was developed by Japan and Russia to make it more errorless, to make it more correct, to make it more flexible. It was again developed by Japan and Russia. Okay, got it? So the first calculating device that we have studied is abacus. Okay, you can also find this in our school lab. Okay, there is an abacus device which is present in the maths lab. Okay, so you can also find it there. Okay, so we have studied till now the first calculating device, that is abacus. Okay, so the next calculating device which was developed that we are going to study is Napier's bones. Okay, in the earliest 16th century abacus was developed, and then in the after some years in 1616 Sir John Napier developed this calculating device which is called Napier bones. If you will see on the screen, you will see the image of the Napier bones device. Okay, if you will see if you will see very carefully, then you will notice that it was developed on the wooden base. Okay, and you will see there are some columns. The very first row is 0 to 9 there, that is written, and below that each number, that number's table is written. Okay, in the 0 column, obviously 0 multiplied by anything is 0 only, so the 0 table is written. Then beside the 0, the 1 table is written, if you can see. Then beside 1, 2 table is written. Then beside 2, the 3 table is written, and so on till 9. Okay, you will see that below each number its table is written. Okay, and there is some wooden strips on this wooden base. On each strip this table is written. Okay, now this device had multiplication table inscribed on strips. Means what? On each strip which you are seeing on your screen, that image of the Napier bones, on that each strip one number's table is written. Okay, if you will notice carefully, you will find that the very beginning of the row, that is the in bold numbers are written, and below each number its respective columns, in its respective columns there is a table written of that number. Okay, now this device, when it was developed, it was used for performing addition, subtraction, and multiplication, division. Then later on, after few more years, it was improved. Means it was having the some errors, and then the errors was corrected, and then instead of using it as the calculating device for performing addition, subtraction, or division or multiplication, it was used for performing and finding the square roots. Now you need to know what is square roots. Okay, so I will give you one example. When a number is multiplied by itself, suppose you take the number 2. When you are multiplying 2 by 2 itself, you get what? 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. Now 4 is called as the square of 2. Means you are multiplying a number twice. Okay, then when you multiply that, you get the square of that number. Now similarly, the square root is the reverse of finding the square. Okay, so how you will, if you will get a number 4, then how you will find its square root? How you will find its square root? Now you have to think which number when it is multiplied by itself will give you 4. Okay, you can think only of one number, that is so easy, that is 2. 2 is the square root of the 4. If you want to learn more about square roots, you will learn in higher classes. So I have just informed you in simpler language that what is square and what is square roots. Okay, so this, coming back to the point, so this device, it was further improved and it was used for finding the squares and square roots, since it had the multiplication tables inscribed on its wooden strips. Okay, fine. So the second example that we have studied is Napier-Bones calculating device. Who developed this device? Sir John Napier developed this calculating device, and this device had the multiplication tables inscribed on that strips. If you will notice carefully on the image, there are some multiplication tables written, and which numbers tables you will find here, from number 0 to number 9. Okay, later on, after few years, it was improved, it was more improved, and it was, rather than earlier it was used as a calculating device, but after the improvement, it was used for performing and finding the square roots. Okay, now moving on. Now we have studied till now two calculating devices. First is abacus and second is Napier-Bones. Now we are going to the third calculating devices, that is Pascaline. Okay, Pascaline, after the invention of the Napier-Bones in 1616, after few more years, that is in 1642, Blaise Pascal invented the Pascaline, and the device which was invented by Blaise Pascal, it is the name of the scientist. It was named as what? Pascaline. Okay, it was the calculating device only, and in this Pascaline, all four arithmetical operations. Now, what is meant by arithmetical operations? That arithmetical operation includes addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and in this Pascaline device, the bigger numbers arithmetical operations were also been performed. Okay, bigger numbers as in the numbers in thousands, in hundreds, that were also performed on this device. Okay, if you will read the second point, what it says, all four arithmetical operations as big as hundreds and thousands were performed with this machine. Okay, so using this device you could perform the arithmetical operations on the bigger numbers like hundreds, the numbers in hundreds or thousands. You could perform all these operations on these numbers. Okay, now later on it became famous as the Pascal's calculator, because it could handle the bigger numbers also, and it was more flexible than the abacus and Napier-Bones, because it was difficult to perform the arithmetical operations on bigger numbers on the previous two devices, and this device could handle that. Okay, now this device had overcome the disadvantage that the earlier two devices were facing. Okay, and it became so famous that the name of the Pascaline device became famous as what? Pascal's calculator. Okay, in short, in 1642, Blaise Pascal invented the Pascaline. Okay, Blaise Pascal. Who invented the Pascaline? Blaise Pascal. And then what is the difference? Why it is so famous that the earlier two devices which is not having and this device is having? What is the difference? I will tell you. Just now I have told in the previous few sentences, this device could handle the bigger numbers as in hundreds, and the numbers in hundreds and thousands were handled by the Pascaline device. Now, since you can handle such bigger numbers. That's why this device became famous as the Pascal's calculator. Okay, got it? Now the next device which we are going to study is, we will see. Okay, so the Pascaline looks exactly like this, the image which you are seeing on your screen is nothing but the image of the Pascaline device. It was also developed using the wood, and this device could help. It was the first mechanical device. Okay, mechanical device as in you don't have to worry about the bigger numbers. You can perform your operations, arithmetical operations on it easily. So it was developed in 1642 using the wood, and who developed it? Blaise Pascal. The Pascaline looked exactly like this. Such huge device. I know it is bigger in size, but it was much better than the previous two devices. Okay. So moving on. Now, till now we have studied the three calculating devices which were used in the earlier age. First is abacus, second is Napier bones, third is Pascaline. Now we are going to study the next calculating device, that is the difference engine and analytical engine. Now till now you got it that the calculating device which we have studied in the previous slides, that were used only for performing addition, subtraction, multiplication or division. Means only the arithmetical operations. We cannot perform any logical decisions. We cannot take that devices. We were not able to take any logical decisions. Okay, logical decisions as in, for example, when you have to compare two values, when you have to find out, when you want the calculator or the device, when you want the device to find out which is the bigger number from the two numbers. So that answer you cannot get from the previous devices. So there was one man, an Englishman, his name was Charles Babbage, an Englishman. He thought that there should be a device which could take some logical decisions. Okay, an Englishman wanted to make a machine which could take some logical decisions. Now since he thought an idea came up in his mind that he should make a device which could take some logical decisions. Okay, so he designed a machine called the difference engine in 1822. Okay, and this was the beginning of the development of a computer. Okay, so Charles Babbage, he designed a machine called the difference engine in 1822, and this device was able to take the logical decisions, as well as this device was able to perform the arithmetical operations. Okay, and this was developed in 1822. After the 16th century, after long break, this device was developed which could take some logical decisions as well, along with the arithmetical decisions, along with it could perform also the arithmetical operations. So this device, this machine is called as the difference engine in 1822, and who invented it? Charles Babbage. And this device or machine was the beginning of the development of computer. Okay, now you can see an image on your screen. That image is of nothing but the difference engine. You can see how huge that machine is, and you can see the size of the computers that we are using it now. It has much reduced, right? It has much reduced. So this difference engine was the very first machine which was developed by Charles Babbage, which could take some logical decisions also and some arithmetical could perform also the arithmetical operations. Okay, and who invented it? Charles Babbage. And this engine was the beginning of, this machine was the beginning of the development of computers. Okay. Now after the invention of the difference engine in 1822. After some years, as I told you, that difference engine acted as it marked the beginning of the development of computers, right? And after some years, in 1833, Charles Babbage invented the first general purpose computer, and he named it as the Analytical Engine. Okay, after some years, in 1833, Charles Babbage invented the first general purpose computer, and it was known as the Analytical Engine. Okay, so I can say that the difference engine acted as the base for the development of the first computer in the whole world. Okay, now Charles Babbage developed the idea of making input, output and memory devices, which became the base of modern computers. Means what? After the invention of the analytical engine, and what was he new in that general purpose computer that Charles Babbage invented? It was having the idea of making the input means as in input devices like keyboard, mouse. Okay, that were the input devices, and output and memory devices. Now this analytical engine was having the idea of making input, output and memory devices, which became the base of the modern computers. Now, and the same idea was followed in the evolution of computers, and the same idea is being used in today's world also, and reinventing the ideas and reinventing the devices. The computers has evolved so far in such a way that you can also see in today's world. You can notice it, that how far computer has evolved. Now earlier from difference engine, it was huge in size, and you can see the size of today's computers, right? So Charles Babbage also developed the idea of making the input, output and memory devices, which became the base of the modern computers. That's why, since Charles Babbage developed the first general purpose computer in the whole world, that's why Charles Babbage is known as the father of modern computer. Okay, and this is very important. This is the very GK question. Who is known as the father of modern computers? So you have to answer it as Charles Babbage. He was known as the father of modern computers. And it is very, very important. I am telling you, you have to keep it in mind. Okay. So moving on, you can see the image on a screen, on your screen, and this image is of nothing but the analytical engine, which was developed by Charles Babbage in the after he developed the difference engine. Okay, so you can see the first general purpose computer, how huge it was in size. Okay, so now scientists found that this device, this analytical engine, it had some flaws. It could not give some technical answers. Okay, but to evolve this the computers in a more, to reinvent the computers, scientists found that it needed some development. But since Charles Babbage gave the base to the scientists, that how the computer should perform, that's why this analytical engine, difference engine, it became base for the scientists to develop, to reinvent the further reinvent the computers. Okay, and that's why, since Charles Babbage gave a general idea to the scientists, that's why he is known as the father of the modern computers. Okay, so far we have studied the 4 calculating devices. First is abacus, second is Napier bones, third is Pascaline, fourth is difference engine and analytical engine. Okay, so if you are having any doubt, you can ask me or email me your doubts. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so the next part is the classification of computers, that we will see in the next session. Till that, revise what I have taught today. Okay, and please stay safe and study hard. Okay, okay, bye. Thank you.